One fire, one decision, and humanity might have skipped 1,000 years of darkness. It didn't. Not completely. But what if it hadn't burned at all? Picture Alexandria, Egypt, 3rd century BC. This isn't just a library. Hundreds of thousands of scrolls, the accumulated knowledge of Greece, Egypt, Babylon, and BR, all in one building. Euclid laid the foundations of geometry here. Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth, off by less than 2%, using nothing but shadows and math. And then there's Hero of Alexandria. He built something called the Euclid, a simple device that used steam to spin a sphere, the basic principle behind every steam engine that would later power the Industrial Revolution. He had it in the 1st century AD. He just never had a reason to scale it up. Fast forward to 48 BC. Julius Caesar is fighting a civil war inside Alexandria itself. To cover his retreat, he orders the harbor set on fire. The fire spreads. Historians still argue about how much of the library actually burned that day. Some scrolls, a warehouse nearby, or the whole collection. But here's our fork in the road. What if the fire never reaches the library at all? What if the scrolls survive? The scholars keep working and nothing is lost. This is where it gets interesting. Because the knowledge that historically got lost or rediscovered 1,000 years later just ... continues. Hero's steam-powered Euclid doesn't get forgotten as a clever toy. With an unbroken line of scholars building on each other's work, instead of starting over from scratch, someone eventually asks the obvious question: what if we made it bigger? Eratosthenes' measurement of the Earth doesn't get lost to history and rediscovered by European sailors over 1,000 years later. It stays mainstream. Navigation, trade routes, exploration, all of it shifts earlier because the math was never lost in the first place. Here's the thing about knowledge. It doesn't just add up, it compounds. Every generation of scholars who don't have to rediscover what the last generation already knew gets a head start. And over centuries, that head start turns into something enormous. The Renaissance, that explosion of art, science, and engineering that took Europe 1,000 years to reach after the fall of Rome, doesn't have to wait for a rebirth. There's no need to rebirth something that was never lost. Steam power, advanced mathematics, astronomy, engineering. They don't bleed into each other in the 1400s and 1500s. They start cross-pollinating centuries earlier because the people doing the work never lost access to what came before them. Now, here's a question. If the spark never reaches the scrolls, does humanity get industrial-scale technology before the Middle Ages even start? Do we skip plagues that thrived in overcrowded, underducated cities? Do we skip centuries of stagnation? We'll never know for certain, but it's worth remembering. History isn't just shaped by armies and empires. What's the alternate history fork you'd want to see next? Drop it in the comments. And subscribe for the next What If?